Father's Day wishes to all. Be well.
Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there and missing all the fathers who are no longer with us. Stay well.
Happy Father's Day to all. Enjoy the day. Take care.
Chúc mừng ngày lễ cha. Chúc các bác, các chú và các bậc cha ông được một ngày lễ cha thật là hạnh phúc. Chúc mọi người vui khỏe và an toàn. Thank you.
Happy Father's Day. Miss you all. I hope you all get to do at least something fun inside or hopefully outside. Feliz Día del Padre. Espero que alguien hagan algo divierto y lo echo de menos. Y gesur dite na bye bye. You do a show.
父亲节到了，祝福所有的父亲们节日快乐。
Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. I hope you have a great day. We miss you.
Happy Father's Day. Hope you're staying healthy and well, and I hope you enjoy your special day.
Hi, happy Father's Day to all the fathers and special men in your life. So we have a nice program for you to follow, this Worcester Senior Center staff Father's Day shout out. Please welcome Allison Chisholm, a local author and biographer who wrote The Inventive Life of Charles Hill Morgan, The Power of Improvement in Industry, Education, and Civic Life. Today she will be presenting A Passion for Cars and the Power of Steam. The focus of this talk will be how, in the early 1900s, few people in Worcester had seen an automobile, much less driven one. Allison Chisholm will share stories of these newfangled machines and their role in the Morgan family's Worcester activities. After the talk, please enjoy the Worcester Senior Center's first virtual car show. Happy Father's Day from all of us at the Worcester Senior Center. Stay well, stay hydrated, and continue to watch our Worcester Stay Connected programs.
Hello to everyone at the Worcester Senior Center, and happy Father's Day. I'm Allison Chisholm. I'm a local biographer and owner and founder of Choice Words Chisholm & Company, a marketing communications firm here. Today, I want to share some stories about Worcester people who are passionate about cars and some of the steam that actually powered some of them at the turn of the 20th century. If you've ever driven up Stafford Street on your way to Leicester, you've conquered Dead Horse Hill. Back in 1905, it wasn't such an easy drive, mostly because people didn't have cars. Also, it was unpaved. The mile-long hill with a steep 16% grade was named for its reputation for ending the lives of not a few horses. So here's Lincoln Square in a quieter era, with few cars on the road, no traffic backups, only when a train might cut across the intersection. In May of 1905, 3 years before the first Model T would roll out the factory doors, a group of car enthusiasts, encouraged by the Worcester Automobile Club, participated in the first Dead Horse Hill climb. The club's president that year was John Coughlin, who had founded Coughlin Electric Company. He was the timer for the race. Some 70 cars entered the race that year, quite literally intending to test their mettle. Some were Stanley steamers. Others featured those novel internal combustion cars. Did I mention the road was unpaved? The route was the old Worcester and Stafford Turnpike, straight up to 864 feet in elevation. The first race had the road lined with policemen to protect the good people of Worcester from those speed demons. The noise was said to terrify some women who would hide behind a tree, a stone wall, or their parasol. As the cars roared by, the race began where the Standard Plunger elevator shop used to be, and drivers then had a 200-foot downhill to get a start before coasting their vehicles up hundreds of feet of elevation gain. The fastest car that year was a 1905 Stanley steamer driven by Vermont's only Stanley agent, Leon F.N. Baldwin. He clocked in at 1 minute 9 seconds. M. Percival Whittall of the carpet manufacturing family won his category in a Pierce Arrow like this one, making the climb in 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Hill climbs like this were really popular across the country, and Worcester's Dead Horse Hill was no exception. The second year, the race attracted more than 7,000 spectators, and the Worcester paper reported that entrants included Pierce Arrows, Stanleys, Stevens Duryea cars, Franklins, Pope Toledos, and Mercedes. Cars would literally fly off the ground as they accelerated up various pitches. Winners would have to give speeches at an after-race banquet, where it was reported they were entertained by the Ideal Mandolin Club. The races continued every year through 1911, when Leon Baldwin won again, topping the hill at an astounding 54 seconds, again with a Stanley steamer. As you can see, the sponsorship deals soon followed, with this product plug for Oilsome lubricant. Cars soon became more commonplace, as this Main Street scene shows, with trolleys, cars, and horses, all sharing the road. Today's drivers who enjoy speeds and levels of endurance that would have been unthinkable in 1911 may wonder, what was the attraction of steam? Men had harnessed it for train transportation. Making steam engines kept this machine shop busy in Lawrence in the 1850s. But Americans were enraptured with steam and all that its power could do in the new industrial era. The massive core-lift steam engine here awed visitors at the Centennial Exposition in Philadelphia in 1876. It supplied power to virtually every exhibit in the place, more than 800 of them, with underground shafts over a mile long. Steamships added ever larger engines and made transatlantic travel much faster. So it's no surprise that inventors would install small steam engines in horseless carriages, like this Locomobile of 1899. Here in Worcester, one man who saw a future in steam-powered cars was Ralph L. Morgan. Son of Morgan Construction founder Charles Hill Morgan, Ralph was a WPI graduate who worked for his father's company. He tried to persuade his father and other company directors to get into the business of steam-driven cars. He even patented several steam engines and designs, and he built a prototype for his father. When the directors of Morgan Construction said, no, we'll stick to making steel mill machinery in 1900, Ralph decided to go his own way. He sold his patents to auto pioneer Charles Flint and managed the automobile department of the American Bicycle Company. Imagine that, in Toledo, Ohio. By 1902, however, he was back in Worcester, and he set up the Morgan Motor Company at Barber's Crossing, which was a new commercial development area. The Norton Emery Wheel Company was there, as was the Plunger Elevator Company. Morgan Motors made steam-driven trucks, a practical vehicle, but considered ahead of its time. The company only lasted 2 years, but the trucks remained popular, carrying up to 10 tons of goods. Ralph went on to become superintendent of Pope Toledo Motor Car Company, but eventually he came back to Worcester and the family business. Here's his father, Charles Hill Morgan, with Ralph's nephew, Philip M. Morgan, in 1897. Ralph learned much from his father, who had been superintendent of Washburn and Moen Manufacturing Company for 23 years before he started Morgan Construction. In the 1880s, Washburn and Moen was the largest producer of barbed wire in the world. But Charles is best known for his invention of the automated reel for wire rod produced by continuous mills. But his patent dispute with Washburn and Moen over this invention was only settled by a ruling from the United States Supreme Court. Morgan Construction, founded in Worcester in 1888, continues to this day, but it still doesn't manufacture steam-driven cars. It's now part of Primetals Technologies, which is owned by Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. While Ralph's company didn't last long, his father's fascination with cars never faded. In 1906, Charles was 75 and in fading health, but he loved to ride in his son's cars. His successor in the business, Ralph's older brother, Paul, had a gasoline-fueled car. In September 1906, newspaper reports said Paul's car had blown up on Elm Street. A stray spark from the jump coil led to a gas tank explosion. Blazing gasoline set a nearby porch on fire. Firefighters took 20 minutes to douse the flames, but Paul managed to escape without harm. Believe it or not, repairs to the car, according to the paper, said they might take about a week. I would think. In 1909, Charles bought his first car. This beauty here, a Chalmers Detroit 30 touring car. He was so excited, he cut out the ad and pasted it in his diary. So it was definitely a red letter day for him. This brand knew how to market itself. Hailed for its endurance and power and comfy seats, the Chalmers Detroit promoters took it on a 2,400-mile journey from Denver to Mexico. Another vehicle drove 200 miles a day for 100 days straight. And in 1910, it won a hotly contested race for the Glidden Cup. Henry Chalmers also promised to award a new car to the baseball player with the best batting average in 1910. It ended up being a tie between Ty Cobb and Napoleon LaJoie. So they ended up both winning a car. At $1,500, this car was out of reach for the average American who made less than $1,000 a year. But this was considered mid-price among luxury cars. It could reach top speeds of 40 to 50 miles an hour, and it seated 5. Charles Morgan took the description touring car seriously. During the summer of 1909, according to his diary entries, he would drive or be driven the 6 miles from his Catherine Street home in Worcester to a summer home in Boylston, Hillside Farm, as you can see here. This house was originally built by the well-known temperance activist John Guff. From here, Morgan toured the area around the new Wachusett Reservoir. Top down, breeze blowing through his hair. He would go through Clinton and West Boylston. On one day, he went to visit a new grandchild in Hubbardston, and he carefully dictated in his diary where the most comfortable roads would be. So he had to go between Sterling, Leominster, Fitchburg, and Gardner to get there. Charles Morgan died in 1911, the last year for the Dead Horse Hill climb. But 74 years later, in 1985, Coughlin Electric celebrated its 100th anniversary by recreating the Dead Horse Hill climb. The Massachusetts Brass Touring Association was also a role in this. In a scene described by one report as like a massive escape from an antique car museum, one by one, 64 early vintage cars raced up the hill, which is now paved, and competed in 6 classes. Once again, the fastest time went to a Stanley steamer, a 1910 model, with 1 minute 9 second race to the top. This matched the performance of the Stanley back in 1905. And then in 1988, it was time for Morgan Construction to celebrate its 100th anniversary with another Dead Horse Hill climb. More than 50 cars competed, ranging from a 1905 Cadillac to a 1915 Stutz. Fords and Stanleys were in the majority among the other contestants. Entrant number 32 was Peter Morgan, the great-grandson of Charles Hill Morgan, and the son of that little baby that you saw in that earlier photo. He drove a 1913 Ford with a 4-cylinder, 22.5 horsepower, 4-stroke engine, Class B. We don't have a record of where he placed in the race, however. The 1988 event was actually celebrating 3 birthdays. Also hitting 100 that year were Heffernan Press and White and Bagley, makers of Oilsum in that winning Stanley steamer. And by 1988, it was a division of Dryden Oil Company. Of course, I have to mention that today, Dead Horse Hill is also an excellent restaurant on Worcester's Main Street. Whether fueled by steam or gasoline, Worcester's cars have certainly played key roles in car history over the years. So on this Father's Day, I wish you all happy travels, top down or just windows open with a breeze in your hair. Be safe and be well. Thank you.
Well, I've owned this Corvette for 3 years, and it's a 2005. It's a 6-liter engine, 400 horsepower, and a 6-speed manual transmission. A lot of Corvettes, a lot of cars, they're black interior. This was, you know, nice gray, so it's a nice color combination. It's a fun car to drive.
A 1964 Pontiac Catalina. It caught my eye. It was sitting on someone's front lawn. Caught my eye as I drove by, and 2 houses later, I got stuck at a red light. So I stopped, I turned around, I looked at it. It was a nice looking car at the right time, at the right price.
This is a 68 Firebird 400 convertible. This was a friend of mine's car, good friend of mine, who passed away about 5 years ago from a drug overdose, and I restored it. We enjoyed it growing up as kids together. It was his car, and just a lot of great memories. My childhood friend. I think my favorite feature of this car is probably the hood. I like the scoops on it, and when I'm driving it, it's just kind of a neat thing to look at. Well, this is the country of the car, right? So you kind of grow up with that attraction to and identification with the vehicle, with the car.
It's a 65 Corvair Monza convertible. It's a second series of Corvairs that were made between 1965 and 1969. They're all pretty much similar in style, and this is one of the earlier 65 versions. Well, it's convertible, it has low mileage, and I love the color. It's a seafoam green. So particularly in New England, you're not going to drive a convertible in the winter, you're going to drive in the summer, and there's nothing that looks more summery than the ocean color. So the color really attracted me. It's an original color. It was repainted once, but it was repainted with the same color of the original color. We bought this car when our kids started becoming teenagers because we figured they'd be a lot more likely to go for rides with us in a convertible than they would with an old car that wasn't a convertible. Well, we used to go a lot to the drive-ins, actually with the Lapins, whose car is next door, were good friends of ours, and we take the top down. I remember watching Silence of the Lambs at the Leicester Drive-In in this car with the Lapins in their car, and it was like a great atmosphere to watch it in, sitting outside with the top down, scary movie on a summer night. That's one of the memories that sticks out.
I've had cars forever, for years and years and years. I've been into cars. We're a car family, and I sold off one of the cars that I had, a pickup truck, a 55 Chevy pickup, and I had some loose money laying around, and I had remembered somebody told me about this car sitting in a barn down in Woodstock, Connecticut. And I found out about this car like 20 years ago, sitting in a barn, and it was sitting there. I went down there with some money, and I bought the car, took the dust off it, put some air in the tires, and what you see is pretty much what I got after sitting there for 20 years. Somebody had done it all up and put it away. And I've done some things to it to make it mine, you know, but it's a survivor, it's a barn find, and it's a nice car. I take it everywhere. I've always had El Caminos and Rancheros periodically through my life. So I found this and I said, you know what, I'm going to keep this and I'm going to keep it nice and fix it up and make a toy out of it, you know. And that's, I've always had like a fascination with the El Caminos in particular. I've met a ton of people through the cars, a ton of people, and they're all nice people, you know. And it's just great, you know. And I'm glad I can enjoy it, and I'm glad I can share some of my enthusiasm with this stuff, you know.
There's no Thunderbird made two-tone this year. 61, 62, and 63. They were all one color, and some of them had a vinyl roof. This had a vinyl roof, black. I took it off, it was off, no, I had it taken off. And they wanted to know what I wanted to do with it, and I said I want black and Castilian gold, which is a Ford color. So he had it for 2 years, and he was fussy, real fussy. As a matter of fact, when I went to car shows, they wanted to know. The first car show I went to, they said, don't leave, stay here. The kids picked you as the best paint job, and it was out in towards Springfield. It's different, and this car, it's got the pointed fenders, and it's like driving a jet airplane, you know, some of the effects of the fenders and the stainless steel on it and the bumpers. It costs a lot of money to bring it up to what it is now. Well, the steering wheel goes to the side when you get in, and you leave it to the side because that makes sure it stays in park, and that's one. And then they had bias tires on it, but I put the radios on because it rides better, you know. Yeah, because they're inclined. These old boats, you know, they float, I should say. But it's a nice car. I've had a lot of fun with it. Yeah, but there's always something you got to fix, always, because they're old.
It's a 1956 Lincoln Capri. I found it on eBay pretty much like this. I had to rebuild the motor, redo the wiring. When I saw it online, and I had to have it. I love the whole thing, but I think the hood ornament probably about the best feature.
This is a 1967 Pontiac Firebird convertible with a 400 cubic inch motor. When I was in high school, I had another car similar to this. It was a hardtop, and I was buying parts for it in a junkyard that had a bunch of these sitting in the junkyard. And I saw this sitting on its belly, so-called. It didn't have wheels on it. It was all rusted and rotted and in rough shape, and I thought it would look really cool, and it would be a real interesting, constructive project to restore it. So I bought it, dragged it home on a trailer, and restored it as a kid. I've always liked anything with wheels and engines, and I had go-karts and mini bikes when I was a kid, and I still tinker with that stuff. It's a hobby. I just enjoy it. I just love taking it to, you know, the beach, drive-ins, drive-in movies are really fun. Car shows are real fun, you know. Just talking to you'd meet very interesting people when you go to car shows, different events.
Happy Father's Day! Happy Father's Day!